Hello and welcome back to Aston Martin. We're here in Italy once again for Monza. Now we've got to survive this race and the next race before we get the final major upgrade to the car this season. But Monza is a track, if I actually hover over it, would help. It's a track that can throw up a freak result. We're thinking the Toro Rosso victories, or AlphaTauri as it is now, the McLaren of a couple of years ago. It still feels weird. That feels like an anomaly. Come on, McLaren. Our only issue is this. The car right now, very average. And not particularly good at high speed, apparently. So, yeah. But we do have Pierre Gasly, which is always helpful. Also, you can see it just there. The regulations vote will be as part of this because it'll basically pop through at the end of the race. This is the third and final regulation vote of the season. That was, as you saw in the last episode, that was purely about finance. Just in case you haven't gone back from the beginning of the playlist and watched from the start, and you are new to this series from the, effectively the resummation a few races ago, there is only one reason I'll ever sort of pause and refresh a game and reset the game to get the result I want, and that's if you get the regulation vote for changing the point structure. That's the only one I'll ever guarantee I'll make sure never passes. I don't mind if you get the extra point for qualifying or if they take away the point for fastest lap or whatever, but the actual 1 to 10 point structure, if that ever gets the vote, I will reset on that. Thankfully, that happens in the middle of the season and it's easily negotiable. It's kind of annoying that they put it in a game. I do understand it, but it's a little bit annoying that they put that in the game. Oh, before we get into practice, actually, you won't see the practice, of course, you'll see qualifying. Qualifying seems to be dry, but the race is wet. A wet Monza. Now we're talking. Also, practice is wet, which is irritating as all hell, just for getting acclimatization. But anyway, I'll see you for qualifying. Right then, a range-tracking set of practices for the most part. That's not the reason for Mick's missing 7%. He's still got 50 out of 15 performance bonus, so that's all grand. But the reason for the 93 is because literally right in the middle of every single stint, he had a lock-up or spin. On 5 of the 6 stints, I think, he did that right in the middle. And because track acclimatization is an exponential curve for some reason, spinning or locking up resets that exponential curve, so it completely stymies the remainder of the stint in terms of getting acclimatization. I don't understand how doing one lockup or one spin in the middle of one lap makes you incapable of learning the track from that point onwards as well as you were before. It's a weird mechanic, and we'll move on. We still have 15 out of 15. Qualifying should be dry. The race won't be. So what that basically means is we can just burn the softs. I'm actually not unconvinced Gasly won't need like a brand new gearbox in the final race. Also, I'm slightly confused about tyres because we only ever gave back 5. So I'm waiting for the catch to happen there. And AlphaTauri just went immediately, so I held off there. But just to give Gasly the racing room, as always, we'll just get these first rounds in. Hope they're decent. Doesn't appear to be any issues as such. I mean, Mick only 3 tenths behind Gasly ain't bad on a 1 minute 20 lap, but he is the slowest of all at this point, which is concerning because he's behind Ricciardo and Doohan in particular. The AlphaTauris have stepped up a little bit in recent weeks. We saw last time out in particular. Mick's just got to get one person, Stroll's locked up. Yeah, so that's basically what we're hoping for Mick is the 2 Hassas and the 2 Williams behind him, seemingly 2 tenths. That might be okay. And then he's just got to beat one person. Stroll's going to be a wild card here. When isn't he? But Norris has pulled in a blinding lap. What the heck? Don't tell me McLaren have stepped up this week as well. Ricciardo all the way down here, though. So Mick's just got to get 3 100ths to get Ricciardo, and he'll probably be safe. But I'm presuming people are going to come out about 2.5 minutes to go. As always, we'll just wait for all of the faster ones, in particular the 2 Ferraris and the 2 Red Bulls at this point in time. There's the Ferrari. Don't mind being behind the Alpine out. I thought that was... You know what? I don't mind Gasly being the rear gunner for Schumacher this time round. I would have heard him the other way around because Gasly's just that tiny fraction faster. That would allow the tow for Mick. But I think the car on track ahead of Mick is an AlphaTauri, who is very comparable. We'll go on board with Mick in the hope that giving him this moral support will help. Really, it's Stroll we're worried about here. I love how there's just like one Haas about 30 seconds ahead of everyone else. It's not 30 seconds, but you know what I mean. That one Haas just jumped the gun massively compared to everyone else. I'm just hoping Gasly's not too close. He's not. He's okay. You just got to try and avoid defending on your flying lap, really. Oh, he's done a worse first sector. Mick, what are you doing, Sunshine? Gasly's done a better first sector as well. Go on, Mick. Oh, he's lost the AlphaTauri, really, actually. That AlphaTauri's gone much faster. The Hasses are across the line, which is good. I think one of them didn't get across the line in time. I don't think Vettel even did a flying lap. Mick's on slower. This isn't good news. We have to hope for Stroll. We've only had one failure to cross the line, and I think it was Canada Season 1, where Magnussen failed across the line, and because we went behind them, we failed across the line in time as well. Oh, Mick does improve, but not enough. Stroll is the one that we have to worry about, really. There's no way knowing what his times are until... Oh, did he just stop on the line? I mean, thank you, Stroll, for messing that up, but someone came out... Zhou, again, has pulled off a blinder. Do we need to look into Zhou Guanyu? Because he keeps pulling out blinding final laps out of nowhere. Where's he found 6/10? 4/10 faster in the third sector. He really needs to stop doing this. Shout out to Mick on better tyres doing that, though, by the way. I suppose they were equally good tyres. They're both brand new, weren't they? Oh, well. That AlphaTauri's gone for it again. They don't hang about. Albon. I'm willing to be patient with Mick, but what on earth is Zhou Guanyu doing as everyone gets in Gasly's way? That is remarkable. He seems to have pulled out an okay time, actually, considering. Ocon's been hindered, clearly. Where's Norris's pace come from is what I want to know. He's suddenly mixing up with the big boys, and that just out of nowhere. Maybe the game's coded McLaren to be good at Monza just because they won the year before this game came out. Although Ricciardo's still down here, so I don't know. Seems to be just Norris. Okay, so Gasly on the cusp. Interesting. I'll tell you why Gasly being exactly 10th is interesting afterwards, because I'm not going to say anything to jinx it now. There's both Ferraris. I just want the other Red Bull, really. It's effectively those 4 cars that are, like, insanely faster than even us. There's the other Red Bull. Perez is a little bit off, and I don't really know why. Gasly had to wait for the AlphaTauri, which wasn't good news. At least ahead of Zhou, that's the main thing. All right, I'm bored with Gasly. It didn't work out for Mick last time, so it's hoping it's not 2 for 2. Now, despite the fact I said I could burn the tyres, I did actually use used tyres the first time round. I think we have new ones on now. He's just done a lap, obviously, on them already. The warm-up lap. So, first sector is faster. Good. I mean, obviously, he only needs to be 10th now. It's what matters in Q3. Albon across the line. I just realised there was a 1,000th between Gasly and Albon. There goes Perez into his proper spot. So Albon the closest... Ocon. I missed Ocon here. I forgot about Ocon. He's clearly got more. Gasly's got more, though. It just depends on what these 2 greens mean. There goes Ocon into 8th. That's what we were worried about. I didn't go fast enough. Norris out of nowhere is just put in a 6th. Those McLarens have been floundering for a little bit. It did go faster in Q1, but it wouldn't have been enough. Oh, that's such a shame if you look at the Q1 times. Ocon's was slower, Bottas's was slower, and they found it in Q2. Huh. Oh, yeah. The reason for that was I did it again. I thought last time was a one-off and Mick would get Q2 easily this time. I changed that from 10th to 9th. That's why being exactly 10th would have been hilarious. So we've actually lost out on all 3 of these. Or just 2 of these because these are the only 2 that cost us. But position gain. We can get 200 grand if both drivers only get 1 position. Let's go for it. At least qualifying was actually set to 12th on the hot streak. And also another overall weather prediction. But I can look here. Ha! Okay, that's interesting. I mean, it would be risky to start on inters, wouldn't it? I think this is inters to wets, and then I don't know what to do about that downward line, because it does apparently get bang dry at the end. Bone dry. It's bone dry at the start and bone dry at the end. I reckon the first 20 laps are effectively inters once it starts raining, and then the next 30 laps are wets, at least until this bit here, at lap 40. So 20 laps inters, 20 laps wets, and then I don't know what to do here. It all depends on how quickly this dries out, because that is heavy rain in the middle. The bit here is slightly lighter rain, but a high percentage chance of it. So it depends on how accurate this portion is, and it depends how accurate this portion is as well. Because there's a good chance that we're being mugged off. I think our weather prediction is at 90% now, but that apparently still means nothing. I mean, you certainly start on softs. And you certainly burn them as hard as possible. Because there is going to be wet weather. Actually, that's a point. If it doesn't rain and you burn through the softs, you can always come in early for hards, I suppose. But if you burn through the softs and it doesn't rain, you're a little bit stuffed. But we're going to do it anyway.
Now we should have good weather for the race, and that will be welcome news for the teams.
Crofty, have you seen the weather forecast? So everyone on soft tyres as expected. I was going to have a look at the weather forecast just to have another look at that, but everyone off the line, fine. It is worth noting, actually, Mick's up to 13th. Excellent work, Mick. Bad work from Gasly, apparently. But back to 10th. What I was going to say, though, is Gasly's up to 10th and Mick's, started 15th because of Hamilton having a back-of-the-grid penalty. It looks like Vettel had a back-of-the-grid penalty as well. If I remember rightly, it was Hamilton, Vettel and Norris, because he's down to 8th/9th and he qualified up here somewhere. So looks like Norris had like a 3-place penalty or something like that, and these 2 had back of the grid. Not sure about Vettel because he started down here anyway, actually, but if Hamilton had a back of the grid penalty, then Vettel must have had a significant one too. And Gasly's passed Ocon as well. He's had a poor start. Considering he was fighting Norris off the line, that's a poor start from Ocon as the laps progressed. I think Gasly will have him in the long run here, although he is positioning himself behind Norris, but he has got Ocon seemingly mixed up to 12th. So having a look at this again, yeah, okay, we just blitzed these tyres then. Okay, we've had a lap of deploy, so we'll just save that for emergencies now. I mean, Mick up to 12th is unbelievable work. Hamilton's still in 19th is surprising. But yeah, we could just burn these tyres, because I think we've still got like 2 more sets of clean softs anyway, should we need them at the end. Really, really depends on this stretch here, how quickly this dries out. But Mick's still 12th, Gasly's still 9th, right up the chuff of Norris though, which is nice to see in this case. A little bit of stutter there, don't really appreciate that. I think that's on the game, but I mean, there is a certain point where we might have to abandon charging on these softs if we don't see any sign of rain. There's a weird moment in that first chicane where people's intervals just vanish. And here it comes. I didn't come back, but okay, this is a problem. I mean, Gasly obviously will come out 20th as things stand, but Mick's right there. Is he going to suffer more or less by double stacking? I'm going to argue less. Annoyingly, it has just tipped over to 1 millimeter, so everyone's going to pit. I was hoping it would just kind of hold off that little bit before we actually got to the pit lane marker. But interestingly, Sainz has come in, but not Leclerc. Interesting that they prioritised Leclerc there. In fact, it's all well and good being on Gasly here, but it's Mick that we need to pay attention to. Mick's just waiting, so he doesn't actually, annoyingly, he doesn't actually hold up other people. Gasly got out seemingly okay there. He's still behind Norris. Mick's having to wait for people. I don't really know why. Okay, he's got Tsunoda back, but he's lost the place back to Albon, and he's lost the place to Hamilton. He's lost the place to Ricciardo. Still maintains Tsunoda and Magnussen, though. And it all depends. Full deploy, full everything on this outlap. Get the maximum amount of bonus you possibly can get from being on these tyres on a damp track when they are on dries. Do the absolute most. Doohan's still out, Zhou's still out, Ocon's still out. I don't know where Russell was kind of comparatively, but I imagine it wasn't great. And if actually Mick can retake Albon, actually, that'd be great. But do the maximum possible. Yeah, I mean, he's left Tsunoda back to the dust. Mick just joining this back straight. Well, I mean, he doesn't have any charge left, so we're going to have to go neutral now. But, oh my God, he's got Leclerc. I mean, of all the options, how has he got Leclerc? Leclerc must have had a rubbish pit stop. Okay, we probably need to be a little bit safer on the tyres for now. In fact, whilst we work that out, oh, we actually pauses while we do this. That's good. It looks like the heavy rain's about there, so we could go all 5. It looks like aggressive is sensible. I mean, for now, we'll have them come in on the same lap, but we'll just so I've got an idea. In fact, mix up behind Albon here, so... Oh my God, Gasly's second. All this time I was focused on how many people Mick will get past again, despite being, you know, double stacked. And I'd overlook the fact that Gasly has moved into second. I mean, if we had DRS, he'd be in DRS of Verstappen. But we don't. Not only did Mick get past Leclerc, he's 2.5 seconds ahead of Leclerc. So I really don't know what happened there. Wait, it's worth saying, Gasly's holding on here. He's doing all right. I mean, there's going to be an awkward moment when this gets turned off. But, I mean, this is the kind of thing you love to see in a wet Monza. Absolute carnage up and down the field. Ocon's down to 16th. Leclerc's down to 13th. Mick back in 12th despite being double stacked, and Gasly up to 2nd. I mean, looking at the people who were left out for an extra lap, I think Mick definitely was better off being double stacked in the end. Ocon, Doohan, Zhou. I mean, yeah, Tsunoda and Magnussen were 19th, 20th. Being left out an extra lap would have been more detrimental. Okay, so he's got Sainz for company now, and we're going to have to save fuel temporarily here because there's not a lot we can do about it. It seems like Mick's joined a trade, so not really a lot we can do about this. We could probably harvest, but there's no DRS is the issue. I've just noticed the millimeters. Come on. Is this the peak bit? It is the peak bit, yeah. So there's this brief peak before it goes back down into Winter's territory. Oh. Anyone going to blink? I mean, we've crossed the line, which is a shame. But is anyone behind going to blink? No one behind has blinked. Leclerc's going to get called up. I mean, Mick's doing his darndest to keep in touch now. For some reason, he's not able to keep up. But, I mean, Ricciardo's surely going to hold everyone up here. Like, Mick's got to have comparative... Oh, mind you, Ricciardo might be good in the wet. This isn't just about raw car power anymore, is it? This is about the adaptability attribute for the drivers. Ah, okay. Don't fight that. Actually, similarly, we'll just take this opportunity to harvest up a bit, I think. We've got a bit of a buffer on Norris for the time being, so we might as well harvest up a bit. We'll let Leclerc take Mick as well, just because Leclerc might be a better agent in kind of forcing these drivers ahead of Mick out of the way. Just in case there's any incidents, now we've got a bit of charge. Unfortunately, nobody blinked on the changing to wet front either. Okay, so we've got a bit of charge again now, so that's fine. Oh, Magnussen cocked up turn 1 by the looks of things, but he's fine. It says turn 11, but it's clearly turn 1. Gasly lost 4 seconds by harvesting to Sainz. I mean, don't get me wrong, Sainz was going faster anyway. Sainz is closing on Verstappen. What? Does Sainz have really good adaptability? Is he really good in the rain? Because I have no idea how he's done that. Bottas, interestingly, seems to be holding people up that are faster. I mean, Perez got screwed by the waiting a lap as well. And seemingly, indeed, we let Leclerc through. Leclerc got a full second ahead whilst Mick was harvesting. And now Ricciardo's back to maul up into us again anyway. So that has worked out. And hopefully Leclerc kind of pushes people out of the way as he tries to make his way through these. I'll go a little bit aggressive on tyres for Gasly as well now. We might as well. In theory, the heavy rain comes in about 7 laps. So we'll just try and keep that buffer to Norris. It's all really about keeping Gasly out of touch of Norris and keeping Mick in touch with, well, the Ricciardo train. Basically, our races are defined by the McLarens right now. So, looks like there was a minor off for someone. Doohan, bless him. Doohan's been screwed over again, by the way. One day he'll get some luck. Today's not that day, clearly. So far, anyway. Okay, so sticking Gasly on aggressive kept Norris at a 2... Oh, Albon's taking Ricciardo. Had a 2-second buffer to Norris. Sector 1... someone going wide again by the looks of things. Oh, it's doing it again. Mick's slowly losing touch on this group, which isn't great news, but... Oh, Leclerc's got Ricciardo. Is Ricciardo struggling? I mean, Mick's tyres are a lot worse than everyone else's around him, just because we've gone aggressive on him. So we're getting close to this heavy rain, in theory.
Here's the replay.
I mean, I don't know why his camera broke. Okay, we didn't seem to lose too much. We lost about 5 seconds all told because we were 2 seconds ahead and now we're about 3.5 behind. So we've still got a nice buffer to Bottas. 4th is still a good result. Mick's got Ricciardo in the meantime. Ricciardo's really struggling. I thought he might have been decent in the wet, but apparently not. Leclerc got Albon too. So Mick's back to 12th. We might as well watch an overtake. Something good for our team. Unconventional spot to overtake, actually, that, but we'll take what we can take, and especially unconventional considering that's the DRS section. So in the dry, that would have been a very poor move to make because it would have given advantage to Ricciardo for the DRS, but in the wet, that's fine. Mick now needs to sort of sidle up to the back of Albon again, and I think that dampness is ramping up very quickly. We might be on the verge of wet. So go all out on these tyres now, lads. All out. I think we've got no further use for these inters. In fact, with the overall dampness only being 1 millimetre away, I'm going to make the call now. And I think there's enough of a gap between our two drivers. We can probably do both of them without any issues now, provided Gasly doesn't have another issue. But I think you'll get taken by Bottas here just by virtue of stopping basically on the track. Or your driving is, Pierre. I mean, I did tell you to attack these tyres, in fairness, in the wet, but we've hit wet territory. I mean, once again, a little irritatingly, once everyone's across the line, we've hit wet territory. So everyone's just going to pit. Verstappen and Sainz are in. I suspect Norris will be when he actually gets there. I'm assuming everyone in this first batch is going to pit. I'm surprised Perez didn't, because I don't think that would have been much of a double stack. Oh, we're being held for someone. I think we still keep Bottas behind us, but I'm sorry, did we just lose out to Alonso and Hamilton by virtue of our pit box? I mean, Mick's not been screwed over there, has he? No, he's all right. So Gasly's been screwed over there. That's great. To be fair, Bottas did too. I'm not going to rewatch that one. That's just him overtaking someone on dry inters. Okay, so no need to push these really. That's just Mick going past intermediate drivers, I think, for the time being. Yeah, it is. Wow, those intermediate drivers got, like, these people who did pit have been really screwed over. So Russell, Perez, Leclerc and Ocon have been utterly mugged up. I don't know why Leclerc's being treated like a second driver right now. I was about to say, how did Ricciardo beat us? Wait, how did Ricciardo beat us? How's Ricciardo come out that far ahead of everyone? Did they double stack Norris and Ricciardo? Was he just always that far ahead? And I just didn't notice we actually had been mugged off by one person. Just to show you how badly Gasly got screwed over by just pure pit position. He was 5.5 seconds behind Norris when he pitted. Now he is 10. Our position in the pit lane cost us 5 seconds. I mean, it's still an improvement for Gasly on his start position, and same with Mick in 11th. It'd be nice if he's in the points, but there's still this descent to navigate. If this descent is as slow as it says it's going to be, then that is very much a case of going onto inters and then onto dries, potentially at the very end. But to be fair, if Ricciardo's as slow as he was before, then this might work out in our favour. Again, we're just gradually going to have to catch up to him. But we need Russell to dispatch effectively both of them first. Oh, something happened in Sector 2. Nothing worthwhile, though. Bottas went wide and didn't really lose any time. That's what happened. Part of me wants to push Mick, and part of me just wants to leave him be. Mind you, he's now got Perez on his arse, so I might take this opportunity to harvest Mick. Don't fight Perez. Get him back up to effectively full deploy, and let Perez kind of fight his way through. Because we saw what happened when Leclerc fought his way through last time. It really benefited us because Mick was already losing that train somehow. So there's a little bit more charge in Mick's car. And now Perez can help try and dispatch Ricciardo. Albon's caught Ricciardo though, so this will work in our favour eventually. And we've now sort of tipped back over on fuel, pretty much. So, Alonso's messed up. Not to a degree that matters to anyone. Albon did get Ricciardo though, so this should... And Sainz has got Verstappen at the front. They are fighting. Another minor off for someone. Doesn't seem to have affected anything. That's because it was Leclerc. Why is Mick struggling to keep up? Oh, he isn't. It's just that one turn at the beginning that just sort of messes everything up. He is 6 tenths behind. It just... Occasionally it does look like he's like a second and a half behind, and I'm confused what's happened. Did you lock up? I mean, if you locked up, it was beneficial, if anything. It looked like it was an overtake. I'm rewatching that just because it genuinely didn't look like a lockup. If anything, that was a faster way of doing the corner. All right, game, calm down. Interestingly, the Norris to Gasly hasn't really differed too much. It's now 11.5 seconds. So since those pit stops about 8 laps ago or whatever, he has lost a second and a half net to Norris. Verstappen's wets are on 73. Okay, not sure what's happened there. I might save the extra fuel for when it starts to dry out, just so I can go full charge then. I mean, curious line there, Mick. Oh, were you trying to defend from Leclerc? I see. Trying being the operative word. Hey, you got the place back. I mean, he'll lose it here again, because I presume he's still on his inside. Don't lock up again, Mick. Whatever you do, don't lock up again. I mean, it's a good fight for Mick, but he is going to have to relinquish that place. Mick's adaptability, his rain capabilities aren't fantastic. Not really been paying too much attention to the weather, but it's still at 6.4, and we're on the downward slide now. Interesting. So, where's the point you pull the trigger? Because remember, that briefly tipped over 4 millimeters here, and that looks to be about the same there. So whilst there's a downward trajectory, there's this brief resurgence, and then there's the full downward about, what was that, about 10 laps? No, more than that. 36, yeah, no, about 10 laps. Or probably into weather, and then it might go to dries for the last 5 or 6. So it all depends on the accuracy of this line. And to be fair, the 90% accurate weather forecast, not being too shabby. We'll actually be on 100% now. Yeah, no, we're on 90. I forgot it was there. But the 90% weather forecast has been pretty spot on. We are very slowly approaching 4 again, but it's not approaching fast enough. Russell's really struggling to take Ricciardo. He's having a go now, though, I think. I think he might have him now, actually. I think Russell will have Ricciardo off the drive here. Yeah, he has. So Ricciardo's basically going to fall through this pack now, because Perez will get him and then Leclerc will get him. And now we've just got to try and hope that we can keep up with Ricciardo. I think we're struggling on the straight. I think that's where Mick, if you pay attention to his lap, he falls behind on the straight and then gets caught up in the corner again. So Leclerc's got to take Ricciardo now, which he does. And now it's Mick's turn. And Mick will get him. Not going to attempt to push on anything other than just slap him on overtake. This is what we saved this for, really. Of course. In fairness to Mick, that's a little bit on Ricciardo. It looked like Ricciardo moved out of the way, and then when it came to the actual corner, Ricciardo moved back in front of Mick. That's what it looked like. And to be fair, we could be close to the inter switch anyway, so... I mean, is it worth it? It doesn't look like it's that damaged, if I'm completely honest, but it's not chaos, Crofty. We can watch that replay again. Look, he's out of the way there. He's out of the way. He's out of the way. He's out of the way. He's in front again, and now Mick's suddenly got a break. I mean, he's got the penalty. I understand why, because the game doesn't understand nuance. It just simply gives it to the car behind, regardless of who's actually at fault. But I'm going to put Mick on the inters now. He might have to suffer for 2 laps. But it's going to come down. Oh, he's still on overtake, I just realised. It's not time to actually come on to inters, but if we're going to have to make a pit stop, now's the time to do it. He might have to suffer for a couple of laps, just above the threshold. I don't know how badly that's going to affect his times, but I forgot he had to serve the penalty as well, which is actually going to help, really, long term. If he can recoup that penalty by making up time when everyone else is sort of suffering the other way around... I mean, he's still come out ahead of Vettel and Stroll. The original Aston Martin lineup. I didn't come back, but that's quite funny. Ah, okay. It seems that the tyres, even though they're only 0.4 millimeters out, aren't great. Although, come on. The most recent patch mentioned they sort of adjusted the punishment, effectively, for being in the wrong tyres. I'm literally, effectively, 0.3 of a millimeter out, and that's how badly it's affected us. I mean, he's about to be lapped, but we'll get it straight back again, I think. Has Gasly crossed the line? He has. I think this is it. I think this is where it comes to us. Oh, yeah, and you can also sort of probably just attack these. Well, you can definitely aggressive these. I don't know if you can attack these. Wow, looking at that, he genuinely didn't lose any tyre power. Oh, because this was predicting 5. I mean, he's moving out of the way to be lapped, but these tyres are about to be in his favour. Oof, looked like he touched Verstappen there. Gasly might be the first one to pit, just as it goes to damp. Gasly's going to be the first one. Finally, the pit stop's going in our favour. And there's definitely enough laps here to make the Inters worth it. There's no point sort of saving this for like a fastest lap or anything, because the fastest lap would be on the softs at the end. Absolutely get the maximum benefit of these tyres now. Same with Mick. Maximum benefit now. No one's pitting. What? Why is nobody pitting? I think Mick's in a little bit of an awkward spot now. Okay, don't burn that, but burn the fuel still. Mick's in an awkward spot because he's actually trying to follow. I thought they were on softs for a second. It's just because of the Red Bull's wheel arches. Okay, so Gasly's trying to get Ricciardo, who's on wets in Inter's territory. Okay, so I'll pop you on overtake rather than deploy, because you need to clear him to get this benefit. You need to clear him, Pierre. There we go. I mean, that's super awkward. How is Ricciardo still on his... I'm sorry. Being on the Inters, 0.3 of a millimetre into wet territory was more problematic than being on wets, 0.8 of a millimetre into Inter's territory, apparently. Oh, Verstappen locked up, which is actually going to help Mick, I think, because now he doesn't have to try and negotiate. I mean, we haven't got a lot of charge, but if you can use it to overtake Vettel, that'd be great. Why are they struggling to get through? I'm so confused about this tyre situation. We're now effectively a full millimetre under wet territory, and they're still holding on those wets. Like, Mick should just be breezing by at this point. I think he's got him now, but... I mean, Gasly has dropped Ricciardo, finally, but can't push the fuel. 14 laps from the end, you've got to be a little bit more careful on the fuel now. I can't just go crazy. Have I just ruined their races by putting them on intermediates? It sounded like someone just crashed. I mean, I think incrementally we're getting the benefit of these, but yeah, Gasly is now just harvesting time. Oh, it's Ricciardo this man. Don't forget, all of these drivers are going to have to... oh yeah, we're going to have to do... Driving clean air seems to get you in a better line of attack. So because we're in like a flying formation right now, okay, that's got Gasly the positioning that he needed to get past effectively everyone. And now he's going to get Albon. Apologies for being on 2 times there, but did make that look a little bit Benny Hill. I apologise for that, but... Okay, so Gasly's back into 7th. He's got to make up 12 seconds... Oh, for crying out loud, Pierre. Pitting did not help Gasly. I mean, he's going to get Albon back straight away. It is utter madness. I mean, I'm hoping the Inter's work in like soft territory for a little bit. That is going to get drier a little bit faster than we anticipated. Okay, so Gasly's got Albon and he's fine. Oh, I forgot about mixed fuel. That's not what I wanted. Somehow we're still losing fuel. I don't really know how. Okay, so Gasly got Bottas and now we're getting... So he basically got back to exactly the same place where he was. We'll watch this. So basically, pitting onto Inters did nothing in the long run. 10 laps of being on the right tyre just got us the pit stop back. Size locked up in turn 3. That doesn't really help anyone, but... I mean, ironically, I think Mick's going to get Ricciardo here, but before... Can we get 10 laps of absolute hard off these? I'm going to need Mick to conserve fuel a little bit, just because I'm a little bit concerned. Some people didn't pit onto softs straight away. Some people have not pitted onto softs. Some people have not pitted on softs straight away. This is, I mean, everyone that Mick was fighting has, so that's not helped. But, okay, so Mick's now back onto 0-0, so that's seemingly a little bit okay. I think they're going to be all right. I just need to pause temporarily so I can look at what 5 aggressive does for these tyres. It keeps them well within. Okay, so we can go 5 aggressive for the remainder of this race. Verstappen's come in and come out fine, but Gasly has got... What on earth's going on there? I think Gasly was lapping someone, but a little bit. I mean, that was a little bit drastic, Vettel. Gasly's on the podium. Gasly's on the podium. He's also going to run out of fuel, but I think we'll be okay. 8 laps, he should recover that tiny bit that he needs. It's a little bit... What's happened with Bottas? Why is he taking so long in the pits? He's got out again in 11th, though, so that's sort of fine. Okay, so Mick's 13th, so he still gained the position. Is he catching Ocon? Surely not. Also, why is his last lap 148? I wasn't alerted to an off. Also, when did we get DRS? Oh, Gasly's on the fastest lap. I don't think he's going to keep it because it looked like Leclerc was doing a faster one in the background. But I think Leclerc's going to nab that straight off Gasly. But I'm a little bit concerned that Gasly's not managing to stay positive on his fuel. Like, if we get to like lap 49 and he's still having this issue, we're just going to have to slap him on conserve briefly. And there goes Leclerc's fastest lap. Okay, so Gasly's now sort of on par with everyone else. So I kind of don't want to really lose the differential of the tyres. Actually, let's be real. With Gasly, he's 3 seconds behind Verstappen. That ain't happening. He's 9 seconds ahead of Hamilton with 9 laps to go. That might happen, but it's nice to have the tyres in reserve and react to Hamilton closing in if he does. Mick's kind of in a similar situation because Ocon is faster, but we've not got DRS yet, I don't think. Ricciardo's 8 seconds behind. I tell you what though, actually, putting Mick on those tyres when we did, that entire pit stop, plus the penalty, plus the wing change, and he's 8 seconds ahead of Ricciardo now. I mean, Mick's had a wild all day. I mean, he's had a wild weekend. He's been off in every single bloody practice. Mugged over by the new Mr. Saturday of Zhou Guan Yu, who's in 18th now. Is DRS actually going to be activated or not? Because I'm a little bit confused. Because if DRS is going to be activated, then I would like to be within a second of Ocon if possible. But you seem to be making a hash of that, Mick. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe DRS was activated and I just didn't notice. But 2 laps to go. I'm still a little bit concerned by Gasly's fuel, so we'll just get that buffer. Hamilton is 7 seconds behind. We've got the margin. It's a shame. Oh, he does have DRS. DRS was activated. I just wasn't paying attention. Okay, so, I mean, Mick, long term, you're not better than Ocon, although you're going for it now, which is interesting. Okay, so that's the fuel. That's the point one I wanted from Gasly. I mean, Mick's fighting Ocon here. It's a nice bit of harvesting. Basically, I want a lap's worth so that when we start lap 53, everyone's on the lead lap at this point, aren't they? I mean, that matters. So yeah, both Mick and, well, Mick's the one that matters. So this will be lap 52. Continue to harvest. Don't try and overtake him. Or if you do, just, you know, let him take you straight back again. You don't need to harvest anymore. You've harvested for 1 full lap. They've started the last lap. That doesn't matter because you're nowhere near. Gasly's close, but you're nowhere near. And they're nowhere near to you, so you don't have to worry about being lapped. Mixed race pace and his qualifying pace are so vastly different. It's unbelievable. Okay, so you've got DRS now. So what you do is you go attack now on these tyres, and then we'll slap you on overtake for this final lap. We'll keep the fuel as is because I don't want to touch you right now, but Leclerc and Perez are fighting up front, aren't they? Yeah, Albon and Bottas are fighting. And Mick and, like I say, we did get him on the first one, which is actually probably beneficial. Actually, don't overtake him here either because he'll just get you back in the DRS. I mean, we're focusing on Mick on this last lap, but Gasly's going to come through for a P3. I mean, ideally, you need to be behind the detection point, Mick, which is there. Never mind. You imbecile, Mick. But yeah, the P3 for Gasly. It is an excellent drive, you're right.
Checkered flag.
Overtaking where he did. That might be on me. I told him to overtake earlier than I probably should have. To be fair, Mick went from P15 to P13, despite crashing. I still think that's Ricciardo's fault, though, technically, because he moved back onto the racing line, having moved out of the way to defend already. But we'll get out of the way for another Pierre podium. Sainz for Ferrari winning in Monza, though. That'll have gone down well. And considering this is a weak track and a weak period for our car, not bad. Not bad. The Ferrari on top. Hamilton in the middle, that went from 19th to 4th. But Pierre had a good race. I mean, Mick had a good race overall, but yeah. Where would he have been had he not crashed? I don't know. Because the thing with Mick is, obviously, we put him out on those intermediate tyres a couple laps early, so he did lose a bit of time before he gained a bit of time. So poor old Mick stays... Lando got 10 points casually in the background there as well, in 5th. It's doing it again, by the way. I really do feel like the latest update did, you know, ruin things a little bit. So Sainz's win, I mean, this is a very tight section of the table. Sainz's win takes him 3rd into the table. Perez isn't that far off. Max has run away with it, but Perez isn't that far off. I mean, there's still a chance for, I would say Pierre, but one of the Ferraris. I mean, Hamilton's been just weirdly consistent. Wait, they've had 2 wins? I don't even remember them having 2 wins. Ross has had 2 podiums. Gasly's had 7 podiums and 1 win. Gasly's had more podiums than Sainz. Doesn't change anything in the constructors for the time being, and we do actually extend our gap on Alpine again thanks to that. McLaren secures 6th a little bit better too. Technically gain on Mercedes by 1 point, but yeah. I said if Mick had a good race, he'd get a development point. He's got 1,000 points, and he gets 200 a week as standard, so you might actually have a development point, even though it's not telling me he has one. Okay, so there should be an important email. The financial changes were voted for, tie break. So even though I voted against them, they have gone through. I mean, in a weird way, voting, like, having that go 4 makes this harder for us right now because we're going to be 4th, although I think we still get this year's prize money, which should be 67 million. But going forward, it would technically make our life harder because if we're going to be in this top 4, then first are getting a higher proportion of the money. So it's going to make it harder to run them down. Yeah, I mean, great on everything on that front. Experience the next development point, 5. Does that mean he'll technically have it by the time of the race, or do I have to go through the entire week? Oh, he will actually have it in time for the race because Singapore's 18 days away. But there appears to be literally nothing on our calendar between then and now. Facility-wise, there's nothing to fix because you can't refurbish something before it apparently gets bad. So, I mean, I'd love to refurb the hospital. Oh, actually, no, I'm just going to... I can preemptively strike the hospitality area because that will end up in 80% conditioning before it's done. So I might as well just preemptively strike this one and just upgrade it. But yeah, I can't refurbish the suspension centre, even though it's clearly, by the time it would be refurbished, go down to 80%. Because it would take 59 days to do that, and it will definitely 2 months' time. That will definitely be in the 80% situation. But I have to let it get to 80% and then refurbish it. So I have to suffer for 59 days with an 80% effective. I don't even know why it's 80%. It should be 75, clearly. So Singapore was a race that could always cause a little bit of carnage as well. I do remember Singapore being a very good race last time out, but we had a much better car comparatively last time. Even if I do remember, if I remember rightly, we got driven into. So yeah, it's a track where there's a couple of problem spots, one of them terminally so there's always a chance of a little bit of a mix-up in this particular one. But unfortunately, like I say, the car comparatively to the rest of the grid isn't as good as it was this time last year. For the remaining 5 races, it will be. So that's it for Monza. A little bit eventful in the end, a little bit of management, and despite negotiating a 3rd place finish, Pierre Gasly does slip down the rankings, thanks to sites. But overall, we're maintaining our foothold on 4th, still 90 points behind, about 100 points ahead of Alpine now almost. So with 6 races to go, I think we're nailed on 4th. I've said that for the last 4 races. As every race passes, that gets increasingly likely. Until next time, thank you for joining me. If you enjoyed this, do like, comment, subscribe. Until next time, ta-ra.